Seventh graders, this is the last lesson in this chapter.
Yay!
Yeah, 6-10. Okay? The test is coming. Look at this. Look at this lesson. We're going to be talking about making a table of numbers, using the table to show a percent increase or a percent decrease a number of times, more than once. Okay? So we're starting with an amount, and that amount is either going to be increasing by a little bit each year, called growth, or decreasing by a little bit each time or each year, called decay. Growth and decay. All right? Or an increase or decrease over time. Now, this often happens in, or especially an amount of increase happens in a bank account. If you're getting paid interest on something. All right? They'll calculate interest on an amount, it's a small percentage of the amount, and then they'll add it to the account, add it to your money in the account, and over time that amount increases by a little bit. You might have to pay or pay interest on something if you get a loan. And so that a little bit amount that's added to the amount that you have to pay back is an interest rate. It's a small percentage of the amount that you borrowed. Okay? So that's how this is applied. Look what it says at the top of your worksheet. A saving account pays 4% interest per year. 4% at the top. It says 4%. If you deposit $1,000, starting with $1,000, if you would deposit $1,000 and then do not deposit any more or withdraw any, so that amount stays the same, how much will be in the account at the end of 5 years? So that's what this table shows. The first year starts with $1,000, and then it says that you get 5% per year. You get 5% of this amount, whatever's in the account, added to the account in interest. So, how much is this amount? How would you find out this amount? AJ.
You do 1,000 times 0.5 and add it to 1,000.
Yeah. You do 1,000 times 0.5. Well, that'd be 50% though. You mean 0.05. Yep. Yep. Or, and then add it to the amount. So we can do the amount that we're starting with, 1,000, times 0.05, because that's the amount as a decimal. And then add that number, $40, to the original amount. Or there's another way that we could do this. And that is to do this all in one step. Okay? We could use what's called a multiplier, which is the amount plus whatever percentage is given, okay? So in this case, in this example, it would be 100% plus 5%, which is what? 105%. And what would 105% be as a decimal? Yep. 1.05. So we could either use this to find the amount of interest, or we could use the multiplier as a decimal to find just the total amount. that would be the amount of interest plus the starting amount. The multiplier would give us the total amount right away. If you do this on your calculator, 1,000 times 1.05, you get the ending amount right away. Because that's the multiplier. That's adding 5% to the original amount. Okay? What's 5% of the original amount? Max? What is 5%? Look, I'm pointing at it. $40, right? Now, we can also just multiply 1,000 times 100% plus 5%, which is 105%, and get the total amount at the end. Yes?
1,000 times 0.05 equals 50. Yeah. 0.05 up there. It says do 1,000 times 0.05.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm using 5%. In the worksheet, it's 4%.
Yeah.
So yeah, this would be.
That's wrong.
This would be it. All right. On your worksheet, they give us a rate of 4%. I accidentally used 5%. Okay. Now, on your assignment on this chart, it uses 5%. Okay. So that's why I chose 5% right away. All right. Let's do this first one together. At the bottom of the reteaching worksheet, number 1. So starting with $1,800 instead of $1,000. How would you find 5% of 1,800? How would you find 5% of 1,800? Luke? Yep. So do 1,800 times 0.05, and then write that as the interest amount. What is that? $90.
Oh.
Right? The interest is $90. Yep. Right here. Interest is $90.
Okay, and then you always add the interest plus the.
Then you add the two, the starting amount plus the interest, and that gives us a balance of $1,890. Okay. Then, in order to do the second row, you have to start with the ending balance. So the first one, and year 2, you're going to get paid 5% of the second year's balance. So write 1,890 here in the second row, and then do 1,890 times 0.05. What is that interest?
94.
What is it?
$94.50.
Yep. $94.50. And then add that to the previous balance. Okay. Yes. rounded.
Okay.
Do you understand how to finish this chart then?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Still don't understand.
Have you copied the first part?
Are you doing this the beginning balance?
Have you started with copying what I told you to copy? Then that should be the first step.
Hey.
Starting with 1800. 1800 times 0.05. Hear it? Equals $90, the interest.
Yeah, you just round it up to the.
That's 5% as a decimal. Yeah. And then add the two to equal the balance.
You can have the 2 digits because one is 0 and
Okay, that's why I told you to do that the first time. And then the next row is the amount, balance, times 5%, the same number. It is simple. That's why I showed you the pattern, showed you the process. And you just keep going down. Yep. All right. I told you how to add and subtract.
Yeah. Yeah.
Number 1 on the back side. Go to number 1 on the back side. This one is called, this one's going to explain decay. And this is the second part of what you need to know. The decrease of percent. Alright? This is what happens when you buy something and then later on you sell it. It's worth less usually. Unless you buy something that will increase in value. But cars, for example, decrease in value. They depreciate, that word is. Okay? So it means they go down by a percentage. A car, let's say that you start with a car that is worth $12,500. Okay?
Yeah, that's the actual problem.
Yeah, that's the actual problem. That's why I'm doing that. $12,500. Okay? Then it says it decreases in value or depreciates by 15%. All right? So instead of 5% here, our problem that you need to do is 15%. 100% minus 15% equals what? 85%. 100% minus 15% is what, Max? 85%, yep. I'm just asking you to find 15% off. Okay. Now, listen. The value then the next year will be only 85% of the value from the previous year, right? Right? So then, to find the value the next year, you have to use this as a decimal, which is 0.85, and find 85% of the previous year. What's 85% of the original value? You'd have to do the value times 0.85. 85%.
10,600.
Yeah, and that equals only 10,000 what? 10,625. 85% of the starting value. And then you find 85% of that value. Because it keeps going down by 15%.
So basically, like, doing it times.
You just keep multiplying it by this multiplier that we talked about earlier. By 0.85. 85% of the previous value. 85% of the previous value. 85% of that. 85% of that. It keeps going down by 15%. So the remaining percent is only 85% of what you started with. So in 1999, it's worth $10,625. You can fill that in. And then do 10,625 times the same number, 0.85. AJ?
So you're not supposed to like just.
What? What is it?
Okay, so like you just don't every time you just don't like go down 15% and multiply the main number minus 15% of what it was last time.
85% of what it was last time. Yep. Yep. Isn't that what you asked?
No, not really.
You find 85% of the value from the previous year. Isn't that what you just said? Or what did you just say?
So like, what I did is I like subtract. So I did like 70% of that to this answer, and I did 55% of that to the next answer.
55%?
Yeah, because you keep on subtracting 15% each time, right?
No. You keep multiplying by 85% of the previous value.
But I thought I had to go down 15% per year.
Right. 15% off the previous value. So you should get, AJ, 10,625, then $9,031.25. You have to figure it out. So already you did it wrong. You already got the wrong answer. You've got to find 85% of the previous value. No, you have to find 85% of the previous value, okay? All right, do those two questions for tomorrow.
What